It was exactly 6:17 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day when the knife slipped from my fork and clattered against the china. I remember the sound. It was sharp, final, louder than it had any right to be in a room full of murmuring and wine glasses. And then silence. Vanessa stood up at the head of the table, still wearing that cranberry red dress she always picked when she wanted attention, with a smile so polished it looked premeditated. "Before we carve the turkey," she said, raising her wine like a toast, "there's something we need to say." Her voice was calm, practiced, smug. My stomach twisted. I knew that tone. It was the same one she used when she lied about me stealing her earrings in high school, got me grounded for a month. She looked around the table, as if preparing for an ovation. "We had a family vote," she continued, "and we've decided. You're not family anymore." There it was, like someone had driven a nail straight into my chest. For a second, no one breathed. Then, clapping. Megan, my cousin, clapped like she was at a concert. Uncle Dean raised his glass. And my mother. My own mother chuckled and said, "Well, someone had to say it." I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at my plate. The stuffing had gone cold, but my blood, it boiled. My father, seated to my right, didn't even look up. He just sipped his beer and muttered, "It's probably for the best." That was the moment it stopped hurting. Not because it didn't matter, but because it confirmed what I had refused to accept for years. They never saw me as part of them. Not really. I pushed my chair back slowly, the legs dragging against the hardwood floor like the end of a funeral march. "Wow," I said, standing. "You actually rehearsed this." Vanessa's grin widened, victorious. "You've been toxic for years, Camille. We're just done pretending." My mother didn't even pause from spooning cranberry sauce onto her plate. "It's unanimous," she added, like they were canceling a cable subscription. No one spoke up for me. Not one person. No hesitation. No protest. Just silence. And their smug little faces already turning back to their plates like nothing had happened. Good. I reached into my tote bag, pulled out a thick folder, black, heavy, carefully organized, and placed it in the center of the table. The sound it made when it hit the wood, thunk, cut through the laughter like a knife. "I figured this might happen," I said softly, "so I came prepared." Vanessa squinted, confused. "What is that?" I leaned back in my chair and folded my arms. "Why don't you find out?" She snatched it up like a child grabbing a Christmas present she thought she deserved. Her lips curled into a condescending smirk. But when she flipped the first page, the smirk faltered. Her brows drew together. The second page, her fingers trembled. By the third, she gasped. Then came the scream, blood-curdling, raw, wild. The kind that comes not from fear, but from humiliation. Her chair toppled behind her as she stood up, so fast it crashed to the floor. "You monster!" she shrieked. "You twisted, messed up freak!" All eyes turned to me. Ethan, her husband, yanked the folder from her shaking hands and started flipping through the pages. His mouth fell open. "Is this real?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. Every word, every receipt, every screenshot. The table went still. You could hear the tick of the clock in the hallway. My mother's mouth opened, then closed again like a fish gasping for air. No one moved. "You were so sure I wouldn't fight back," I said quietly, rising from my chair. "So sure I'd stay quiet. The doormat, the dependable one, the cash cow. But guess what?" I leaned in close, eyes locked with Vanessa's. "Your little show, it's over. You want to know what was in the folder? I'll get to that. But first, let me tell you how we got here. Because Vanessa didn't wake up one day and decide to cut me out. No. That decision was built, brick by brick, over years. Through every joke, every betrayal, every dollar I never asked back. And tonight, in front of that turkey and those liars, I finally handed back every single brick they ever threw at me. I was never the favorite. Not even close. Vanessa was the golden girl, big smile, loud laugh. Grades that looked good on the fridge. She was the one who could tell a lie straight to someone's face and make them thank her for it. I, on the other hand, was quiet, private. I didn't crave attention, and somehow they hated me for that. They took my silence for weakness. Every time I bit my tongue to keep the peace, they took it as permission to keep going. And I let them. At 19, I packed a single suitcase and left for college on a bus headed north. No help. No good luck text. Just the sound of the back door closing behind me and the cold of Columbus air in my chest. I worked 2 jobs, paid every bill, got my degree without owing anyone a cent. While Vanessa flunked out of 2 majors, found herself during a 6-month trip to Europe on my parents' dime, and came home engaged to Ethan Carter, walking resume, 0 direction. I paid for half their wedding. My parents couldn't afford it, but still somehow managed a cruise to the Bahamas 2 weeks later. I didn't say a word. I never did. When Dad needed dental surgery, $6,000, I wired the money. When Mom said the heat bill was overdue, I sent it, no questions asked. When Megan got waitlisted for a scholarship, I pitched in for her first semester. They called me generous, but there was always that tone. Of course you'd help, Camille. You have no family of your own. That line used to sink into my chest like a blade. They didn't say it to be cruel. That was the problem. They said it like it was obvious, like I was just some lonely woman with no better purpose than to bankroll theirs. And maybe I believed them for a while. I told myself I was doing it for family. That helping meant I was part of something, that I mattered. But helping turned into obligation, then into expectation, and finally into demand. It started small. Little jabs over dinner. Must be nice to afford good wine. Of course you're early. You don't have kids to get ready. Then it got uglier. You're so cold. Maybe that's why no one wants you. You don't understand real stress. You don't have a real life. They said it all while cashing my checks. But the worst part? They needed me. Desperately. Behind every jab, every passive-aggressive comment was another ask. Another bill. Another emergency. When Ethan lost his job, Vanessa called. Just a small loan. When her car died, what's $2,000 to someone like you? When their daughter needed therapy and insurance wouldn't cover it, guess who paid? Me. Always me. Until I didn't. 3 months ago, Vanessa sent a text. Hey, can you co-sign a loan? Ethan and I want to open a plant-based wellness studio. I replied, no, that was it. Just no explanation. No excuses. Vanessa left me on read. After that, the cold shoulder came fast. Mom stopped calling. Dad's replies shrank to one word. Megan didn't invite me to her birthday dinner. Then one day, Vanessa blocked me on every platform, right after posting a story about cutting out toxic people for self-growth. The irony was almost funny, but I didn't sulk. I didn't beg. I just started pulling receipts. Because here's the thing. I'm not stupid. I keep records. Emails. Transfers. Screenshots. Dates. Every time they reached out with a hand and I reached back with a checkbook, I logged it. I did the math. In the past 5 years alone, I'd sent over $78,000 to various family members. $78,000. $8,000 for Ethan's outpatient rehab. $2,300 for Vanessa's dental emergency, which turned out to be elective veneers. $1,500 for Dad's back surgery. $12,000 to help Mom get out of credit card debt, which I later found out she used to renovate the kitchen. $6,000 for Megan's college move-in. For $1,500 for a family emergency that turned out to be a girl's trip to Cabo. And not once, not one single time, did anyone offer to pay me back. They just took. And when I finally said no, I became the villain. That's when I started building the folder. That thick, black folder now sitting at the center of our Thanksgiving table like a loaded gun. Inside were every transfer confirmation, every email, every manipulative guilt trip text, a timeline of every major payment I'd made in 5 years. And just for good measure, screenshots of Vanessa's private comment threads where she called me a cash cow with no spine. That's what she saw tonight. That's what made her scream. Because she wasn't just exposed. She was dismantled, line by line, page by page. And for the first time in years, I wasn't defending myself. I was simply telling the truth. Vanessa's scream was still ringing in the air when Ethan opened the folder again, hands trembling slightly. He flipped page after page, bank statements, text threads, even an annotated timeline of events that laid it all out like a legal brief. The room went silent. Megan put down her fork. My mother had stopped mid-sip, her wine glass hovering halfway to her lips. Dad just stared at his plate, like maybe if he didn't look up, he wouldn't have to deal with any of it. "What is this?" Ethan asked, his voice hoarse. He pointed to a highlighted line. "A hotel in Santa Monica? 3 nights." He turned the page toward Vanessa. "Paid with my credit card, and you were with someone named Alyssa?" Her jaw clenched, her shoulders locked, but she didn't say a word. My heart should have been racing. It wasn't. I was calm, maybe calmer than I had ever been in my entire life. I looked at my sister, not with hate, not with rage, just with finality. "You thought I wouldn't keep track. You thought I'd always clean up after you, no matter how many times you spit in my face. You all did." My mother blinked. "Camille, you kept records of everything?" I turned to her, measured. "You never remembered. So someone had to." Vanessa's fists were clenched at her sides. She looked ready to lunge. Her eyes darted from Ethan to me, to the folder, like she was trapped and looking for an exit. "This is a violation," she spat. "You had no right, no right?" I cut her off, my voice rising for the first time. "You just stood there and publicly announced I was no longer family. You all applauded. And now you're upset that I didn't go quietly." Ethan turned another page, his face pale. "What's this about your veneers? I thought that was an emergency." Vanessa snapped. "Don't start." "I'm just asking a question," he said. "Did you lie about needing dental surgery?" Her silence was louder than any answer. Then my mother finally spoke, voice shaky. "Can we all just calm down and be reasonable?" I turned to her slowly. "Sure. Let's be reasonable. Let's talk about the time you called me a parasite while cashing the check I sent to cover your credit card debt." She winced. "That's not fair. We were under a lot of stress." "No," I said coldly. "You were under stress, and I bailed you out every single time. And the one time I said no, suddenly I was toxic." My father cleared his throat like he was about to say something wise, then mumbled, "You're making this bigger than it is." I locked eyes with him. "No, I'm finally showing how big it's always been. You stood by and watched this family bleed me dry. You heard the comments. You saw the way they treated me. And you let it happen. Because it was easier than standing up to them." He didn't deny it. Vanessa slammed her hand on the table. "You're just bitter. No one needs you anymore, and that's why you're doing this." "Wrong," I said softly. "I'm not bitter. I'm done." She laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "You look ridiculous. Bringing folders, printing screenshots like this is some courtroom drama. You think this makes you the victim? No, it makes you pathetic." "And it makes you exactly who I always knew you were," I said, stepping forward. "You only cared about me when I was paying your bills. You want to talk about pathetic? Try looking at your reflection when Ethan asks you who Alyssa is." "You don't get to play the martyr," she screamed. "You chose to help. You didn't have to." "And yet," I replied, "you expected it. Every single time. Until it wasn't help anymore. It was duty. It was survival for all of you. And when I finally stopped, you voted me out." My voice cracked, not with sadness, but with rage, hot, deep, and long overdue. You didn't want a sister. You wanted a wallet with legs. Ethan stood now, the folder still in his hands. Is all of this true? He asked quietly. Everything. Vanessa didn't answer. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. No fake tears. No drama. Just silence. He turned to me. She told me you were paranoid. That you were jealous. That you were trying to turn everyone against her. I shook my head. She didn't need help with that. She did it all by herself. The room was quiet again. This time, not from shock, but from realization. Then my mother leaned forward, voice soft and pleading. Honey, we may have overreacted, but this is still family. Families fight. Let's just put this behind us. I didn't let her finish. You're not hearing me, I said calmly, slowly. I'm not asking for peace. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm telling you. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a white envelope, crisp and sealed. I'm done. Oh. The envelope slid across the table and stopped just in front of Ethan's hand. He caught it before it could fall to the floor, glancing at me with a wary look, as if afraid of what might be inside. He opened it slowly, the paper crinkling under his fingers, and began to read. After just the first line, his eyebrows shot up. What is this? He whispered. I answered for him, steady and sure. Power of attorney for my mother revoked. Medical proxy revoked. Emergency contact removed. I've already signed the papers. I'm legally and emotionally no longer responsible for any of you. The silence that followed was louder than Vanessa's scream had ever been. My mother gasped, her voice a breathless tremor. You're cutting ties? Completely. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in years I didn't see a mother. I saw a woman who had used my loyalty like currency. I nodded. Completely. Starting now. You're being selfish, she cried. Her voice cracked, and tears began to roll down her cheeks. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. No, I said, and this time my voice dropped into something flat and final. You're not. I grabbed my coat from the back of the chair, folded it over my arm, and looked around the room one last time. Megan was frozen in place, eyes wide. Dad was staring at the empty space in front of him, like his brain hadn't caught up yet. Vanessa hadn't moved at all, just stood there, fists clenched, jaw tight, trying to hold on to whatever scraps of control she still thought she had. And Ethan just looked tired. I stepped toward the door, the heels of my boots thudding gently on the wood floor. No one stopped me. No one said a word. The turkey was untouched. The cranberry sauce had started to bleed into the stuffing. The air was thick with smoke from a forgotten candle, and the warmth that had filled the house earlier had all but vanished. I opened the door, stepped outside, and felt the cold November air rush across my face like baptism. I didn't look back. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. God, it did. But because I knew if I did, they'd try again. They'd cry, they'd beg. They'd twist and contort and rewrite everything that had happened until they were the victims, and I was the heartless monster who walked away from family. I walked down the front steps slowly, like I was stepping out of someone else's nightmare. My breath fogged in the dark. The street was quiet, just a few porch lights glowing in the distance, and somewhere a dog barking faintly. I didn't drive home right away. Instead, I took the long way out of the neighborhood, past the elementary school, the gas station, the coffee shop where I used to take Vanessa's daughter for cocoa. I kept going until I reached the lake. Hoover Reservoir was still, black water stretching out into the cold night, unmoving, undisturbed. I used to come here as a child with Dad, back when he still took the time to ask how I was doing. Back before everything was about Vanessa. I pulled over, killed the engine, and just sat there, listening to the quiet, feeling the weight in my chest finally start to loosen. There was no one to impress, no one to prove anything to, no one waiting on a transfer, a favor, a ride, a fix. Just the dark, the water, and my own heartbeat. For the first time in years, I could breathe. The next morning, nothing. No calls. No guilt-tripping voicemails. No passive-aggressive texts. The silence was strange, unfamiliar, almost eerie. But it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. The day after that, still nothing. But on the third day it began. On the third day, the messages began. First, a missed call from my mother. Then another. Then a voicemail. Camille, we were angry, but you're still our daughter. You didn't mean what you said. Just call me back, okay? Please. I didn't answer. The next morning, a text from Vanessa. Short, sharp, frantic. You don't even realize what you've done. Ethan's filing for divorce. Are you happy? Something is seriously wrong with you. I stared at the screen, letting the words roll off me like water on glass. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't remorseful. She was unraveling and furious that I wasn't unraveling with her. Then came Dad. His message was longer. You went too far. We all said things we regret, but what you did, what you exposed, was nuclear. Your mother is a wreck. Come fix this. Fix it. As if this was just another one of their messes I was expected to sweep up with my silence and a checkbook. As if I hadn't spent years fixing everything they broke while they called me cold for not smiling through it. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because something inside me had shifted. There was no longer that compulsion to explain, to soften, to offer context. No guilt kept me up at night. I slept. God, I slept better than I had in over a decade. No second-guessing every message. No bracing for the next favor disguised as family bonding. No Venmo requests at midnight labeled emergency that turned out to be concert tickets or spa weekends. I woke up early, brewed coffee slowly, took walks just to feel the morning air. I made dentist appointments, doctor visits. I even found a therapist, not because I was broken, but because I was finally allowed to take care of myself without anyone telling me I was selfish for doing so. I changed my emergency contacts, updated my passwords, froze every joint account they had access to, blocked Vanessa on every platform. And for the first time, I understood something that no one had ever said to me out loud. It's not cruel to protect yourself from the people who hurt you the most. A week after Thanksgiving, a new message arrived. This time from Megan. I didn't know you paid my tuition. I'm sorry. I followed the crowd. You were always the one who actually helped. I just didn't want to be the next target. I didn't reply, but I read it twice. Then came Ethan. I filed the divorce papers. Everything in the folder checked out. She cheated, lied, manipulated. Not just you, me too. You did the right thing. I should have left sooner. I wasn't expecting that, but it landed, and it told me something I hadn't dared to believe until then. Someone saw me, clearly. Someone else finally said out loud that I wasn't the problem. And then, for the first time in years, I applied for a job in another city. Not to run, but because I finally could. There was no more, you should stay close to home. No more, but who will take care of them if you leave? I started reaching out to old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. People I had slowly withdrawn from because I was always too busy with someone else's fire to put out. Some of them had seen my post on Reddit. A few messaged just to say, "We're proud of you." That was brave. That was long overdue. No guilt, no expectations, no spin, just support. And for the first time in my life, it felt like enough. But with people like them, my family, I mean, nothing ever ends quietly. Not when they realize the door has actually closed. Because when silence didn't work, they turned to guilt. It was December 22nd when the manipulation got clever. A text from my mother. No words, just a photo. Their living room. Stockings hung, twinkling lights around the mantel, a half-decorated tree leaning to one side. And in the center of it all a gaping empty space. No gifts, no laughter, no me. The caption, "It doesn't feel the same without you." Lila keeps asking why her aunt isn't coming this year. No apology, no reflection, just a subtle twist of the knife, expertly aimed. Look what you've done. Look who you're hurting. I stared at the image for a long time, longer than I should have, and for a flicker of a second it worked. I felt the pull, the familiar ache behind my ribs, that reflex that said go back, be the glue again. But then I remembered. They didn't miss me. They missed access. Minutes later, Vanessa tried calling. I let it ring. Then a message pinged in. I know I messed up, but you don't have to punish everyone. Just come by for Lila. She misses you. 2 minutes after that. Also, Mom and Dad are behind on their mortgage. I know you don't care anymore, but the bank called. I thought you'd want to know. And there it was. The ask. Always wrapped in softness. Always hidden in guilt. But always an ask. I blocked the number. December 24th. Another message. This time from Dad. You made your point. We get it. But enough is enough. We need help. We're still your blood. That night, I sat by the fireplace in my apartment. Just me and a glass of wine. No tree. No music. No forced laughter echoing down a crowded hallway. Just silence, the very thing they always said would destroy me. And for the first time in my life, I was thankful for that silence. But it didn't end there. In January, I got a call from an unknown number. I picked up out of habit. Is this Camille Harper? Yes. Who's calling? My name is Mark. I'm calling on behalf of your father. He mentioned you're the primary executor of the family trust. I froze. I revoked that role 2 months ago, I said. It was finalized by the family attorney. My name is off everything. He hesitated. I see. Well, your father said he couldn't reach you directly and asked me to explore other options. They're in a bit of a bind. Of course they were. The ATM was closed. The safety net had snapped. Now they were getting creative. I hung up without another word. But the final straw came in February. A small envelope, handwritten. No return address. But I recognized the looping cursive instantly. My mother. Inside, 3 pages of carefully crafted regret. Page 1, we said things in anger. You've always been the strong one. We never realized how much we leaned on you. Page 2, your father's health is declining. Vanessa is completely alone now. We're worried about Lila. She's struggling. Page 3, the real reason we're selling the house. But we're underwater on the mortgage. We just need a little help to get through this. Then we'll never ask again. Please, Camille, do it for your father. Do it for the family. I held the letter in my lap for a long time, letting it sit, letting myself feel the ache they wanted me to feel. But what I felt was clarity. They weren't asking for reconciliation. They were asking for permission to hurt me again. They didn't want me back. They wanted the version of me who didn't say no, who paid quietly, who suffered silently, who never pushed back. But that Camille, she's gone. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and dropped the letter into the trash. No drama, no tears, just a soft, quiet thump as it landed between a grocery receipt and a banana peel. I wasn't their duct tape anymore. I wasn't their golden goose. I wasn't their guilt-stricken daughter praying for crumbs of affection. I was done. And the part that scared them most? I was doing just fine without them. Spring came early that year. It crept into Columbus like it had been waiting just for me. Soft morning light through my window, cardinals chirping outside the porch, fresh tulips pushing up through the soil like tiny declarations of hope. And for once, I had time to notice. I moved into a bigger apartment, not because I needed more space, but because I wanted to breathe. I rearranged furniture, just for fun. I hung art that made me feel calm. I planted lavender in a pot by the window and watched it grow. I got the job I'd applied for, a quiet consulting role in another city, working remotely flexible hours. No more late nights. No more panic. Just structure. Peace. And I started volunteering on Saturdays, a shelter for women and children. I helped with tax paperwork, job applications, little things. things I was good at, things no one expected of me. No guilt, no backhanded gratitude, just impact. I started reconnecting with friends, real ones, not the kind who liked my holiday photos but never checked in when I went quiet. No, the ones who remembered I loved Earl Grey tea with honey. The ones who sent me a playlist titled, "You're Free Now." And the most unexpected part? Some of them had read my story online. You were brave. You did what most of us dream about. They didn't deserve you. For a while, I didn't believe them. But their voices didn't come with strings. They weren't baiting me with praise just to ask for something next. They simply saw me. And little by little, I started seeing myself. I went for walks without checking my phone every 10 minutes. I stopped flinching when I heard the notification buzz. I changed my number, twice, just to be sure. I cooked meals for myself, not for gatherings. I took pictures of sunsets that no one else would ever see. And most importantly, I learned to sit with stillness. Not fill it, not fight it, just exist in it. Sometimes I'd think about Lila. I wondered what she was being told. What story they'd spun to justify my absence. That I was unstable? Ungrateful? Cruel? Maybe one day she'd ask the right questions. Maybe she wouldn't. But I took comfort in one thing. I had become the example no one else in that family dared to be. I was the one who finally said enough. A few days ago, another letter arrived. Handwritten. No return address. Just 3 words on the page. We're still family. No apology. No reflection. Just the same old hook. But this time, nothing inside me moved. No tightness in my chest. No heat behind my eyes. No ache in my gut. Just silence. I folded the paper in half, tossed it in the bin, opened a bottle of wine, and made dinner. Not for them. Not to impress anyone. Just for me. Because this is what peace looks like. Not loud. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just quiet. Free. Alive.